The Denver Broncos season ended painfully, but far from empty. Amid debates about momentum, fourth down decisions, and projections for the future, it is clear that this team built something real in 2025. With a young quarterback who showed personality, one of the most consistent defenses in the NFL, and a coaching staff that established culture and belief, the Broncos do not leave this year with a sense of failure, but rather with the foundation of a solid project, falling just one step short of the Super Bowl. Especially with the backup quarterback on the field, says a lot about how much this group has evolved.
Joe Musso, Bryant McFadden, Patrick Peterson here to examine the future for these Denver Broncos, and now's not the time for them. It is for us. They're going to lick the wounds, but we keep this thing rolling forward. You feel like you got a young quarterback who, after getting this ankle right, is going to be the tent post around which you build.
Yep.
You have one of the best defenses in the NFL, and you have a head coach that builds that sort of belief year over year. But many coaches say it. You start back from zero. What does that look like for the Denver Broncos?
Well, first of all, I think Sean Payton should look into studies on momentum and figure out if momentum is real or not. We heard from him after the game talk about how it felt like we had the momentum, and that's why we went for it on 4th and 1. Some people might say momentum, probably don't rely on that.
You're the biggest I got the anti-momentum guy. I got the take the points guy.
It's just not real. Okay.
Momentum is not real?
Don't get him started. Don't get him started.
Well, that's for another time.
I've walked down this dark alley before. We've gone down that road together.
Very real.
Okay, all right. Look, the Broncos are going to have about $30 million in cap space. I want to credit Sean Payton and general manager George Payton because what they have done is they've anticipated that the salary cap is going to go up. They've seen how free agency has actually gotten, I don't want to call it worse, but there aren't as many good players out in free agency anymore because teams are saying, wow, it's really hard to draft guys. And so let's go ahead and pay our guys right now. So they've paid their guys early. Okay, when you look at this team, they don't have a whole lot of free agents who are coming up that you're like, oh boy, that's a killer. Yes, you want to re-sign Alex Singleton. Yes, you want to re-sign JFM. And of course, J.K. Dobbins on that one-year contract. Hopefully he checks out medically. And that's a guy that you would like to have back that, of course, they did not have down this stretch run as well. So the other place that they need to add, tried to add at the trade deadline and couldn't from the Miami Dolphins is a wide receiver. Mm-hmm. They wanted Jalen Waddle, and they wanted him badly, but they weren't going to send off too much draft capital in order to get him. And of course, didn't really need him to get to this point, obviously. And so I can see them looking at wide receiver. That's the biggest, most obvious need for them. But credit to that front office there for drafting their guys and taking care of their guys so that they don't have a ton of work this offseason.
Yeah.
I don't know if it exists or not, but we hear these coaches talk about starting anew in a new season. Is there a way to carry momentum or whatever you want to call it from one season to another? How do you use this year to maybe not start at zero next?
It's a lot that the Denver Broncos can build off of this season. We saw what their defense has been able to do in consecutive years under Vance Joseph. It's going to be interesting to see if he gets the opportunity to get one of these head coaching jobs that's still open right now. So that's a big question mark on how their defense is going to be coming into the 2026 season. But I'm with JJ 100%. They need a dynamic pass catcher to help out Bo Nix a little bit. I believe sometimes he runs a little bit too much under the stress. I believe when he's back there under the pocket in a Sean Payton's offense, or Sean Payton well-ran offense, when the quarterback, you normally see Drew Brees dissecting defenses, hitting those seam balls, and getting the offense up and down the field, I believe that's something that they're definitely missing, and I can see them going to get one of those receivers if they can throughout in the free agency this year.
And also, outside of improving the passing game, the pass-catching position, what about running back? Because this is an offensive line that has 2 All-Pros on the offensive line unit. But the running game has been missing, especially since J.K. Dobbins was injured. When he was in the lineup, he provided the ability to turn a 5-yard run into a 20-plus yard run. The explosive ability that he had really helped the running game. And then when he was injured, R.J. Harvey jumped into the saddle, but he went through that rookie year of growing pains. He really didn't jumpstart the running game. So when you look at in the postseason realm of things with the Broncos, they got outrushed by both teams they played against. The Buffalo Bills outrushed them. And if you can't run the football against the Buffalo Bills defense, you have problems. And then today, they got outrushed again. So they got to find a way to get a sense of balance if they decide to bring back J.K. Dobbins or if they decide to look elsewhere at the free agent market at the running back position, because they have a quarterback. I love Cortland Sutton, but I agree a dynamic playmaker in the passing game is needed. Your defense is your defense.
That's right.
You know, you bring back Franklin Myers and Singleton, and you're good.
Because you already paid Nick Benito, you
Yes.
already paid Zach Allen, you extended Pat Surtain.
Yeah.
So you're Talanoa Hufanga signed
Moss,
a 3-year
rookie
deal.
deal.
Like you're really
Greenlaw,
good there.
Dre, so your defense is good. It's time for your offense to catch up to your defense.
Yep.
And I think that side of the football field needs more attention than any other side on their team.
And we can point to a couple places where personnel-wise that is going to or needs to change, but it comes down to quarterback play. And you hear some of what Pat's saying there, Mac. Where is the next obvious evolution of the game for Bo Nix? Because this is Bo's show, and he's showed us that with that late game recognition, with that ability when the pressure is biggest to deliver in those types of moments. But where do you want to see him build out his game, because we are still so young in that career?
Just being persistent, because when you're persistent, consistency follows that, and that leads to wins or being in position to win. Because the thing about Bo Nix, we applauded him for what he did in his rookie year, and once again, we applauded him for what he did in his sophomore year. But these are the expectations now we have for Bo Nix moving forward, because we know you can play ball. But in the world that he is living in, his neighborhood, as I like to call it, the AFC West, you got quarterback star power. When you talk about Justin Herbert and having a healthy Pat Mahomes back in the saddle, who will be highly motivated because of the disappointment season that we all watched in 2025.
Yeah.
So there's no room to kind of have a sigh of relief and be like, I'm here. Yes, you're here, but the expectations will get higher when you talk about the division that you're playing in with those two quarterbacks that I mentioned.
And anything shy of making it to an AFC title game will feel like or look like regression for this team. We've talked about it, and I thought we could get through 24 hours not talking about the Chicago Bears, but I draw a parallel there with teams that have won games, in weird ways at the end of games. Regression, momentum, we use the words, but the consistency or persisting on task, it needs to get this team to where they're leading in the fourth quarter. This was a come-from-behind group. How do you get it to be a leading group a year over year?
I believe now just starting faster on the offensive side of the ball, being able to not dig yourselves in 10-point, 17-point deficits, and having Bo Nix having to find miraculous magic to try to bring his team back from behind. So I believe, and a lot had to deal with that. Not a dynamic receiver. The running game was really iffy all year long, and for the most part, Bo Nix was running for his life. Although they had two All-Pro offensive linemen on the offensive side of the ball, but he still wasn't real comfortable in the pocket, in my opinion. So it's a lot that that can go on with that, but at the same time, this is going to be something that they're going to have to keep an eye on, because this can definitely put them in the back seat here.
JJ, it's Bo's show. We know that moving forward, but we just watched Jarrett Stidham try and win an AFC title game. Valiant effort there. One that he's going to want back in a late interception, one that he's going to want back in what was ruled a backwards pass. When you look at the value of backup quarterbacks, this is not a situation we're going to see often with backup quarterbacks on a championship Sunday. But what do you make of the way that Jarrett Stidham comported himself? We can hide behind a number of different things here, but critique is there for Stidham as well.
Sure, of course. But if you were on your backup quarterback in the conference title game, the circumstances are going to be what they are. And I appreciated what Sean Payton did almost from the moment he learned about Bo Nix's ankle last week, where he came out and said, Stiddy's our guy. And all he did was speak confidence into the young man. And it looked like for a week of praise of Jarrett Stidham that it was starting to pay off when he hit Marvin Mims Jr. on that 50-plus yard pass. So, it is what it is. I would say there are not 32 good starting quarterbacks in the NFL. If you have a good enough backup, the San Francisco 49ers have one in Mac Jones. I believe Jarrett Stidham is a good enough backup for the Denver Broncos. You're very happy to have that, because there's a lot of teams that don't even have one good starting quarterback. So you're happy with that. When you look at it, though, the rest of the way, who is going to be in his ear during the week? You mentioned Vance Joseph, a coaching candidate. He might be returning as defensive coordinator. There's still 4 jobs left out there. One person from the coaching staff who may be gone is Davis Webb, passing game coordinator for the Denver Broncos. He's up for jobs with the Buffalo Bills, where he's very close friends with Josh Allen. Also up, and keep a very close eye on this, the Las Vegas Raiders, where Davis Webb could wind up as head coach. So you could see some attrition there on the coaching staff. Again, you like this team, you like where they are heading into free agency and the draft. You could lose at least one coach there. And then lastly, when I look at
The challenge now is to turn promise into consistency. The defense is already at a championship level. The next step is to make the offense reach that standard, whether through more explosiveness in the aerial game, better balance in the ground game, or greater comfort for Bo Nix in the pocket. The margin for error in the AFC West is minimal, surrounded by elite quarterbacks and increasingly tough schedules. There's no comfort zone. If 2025 was the year of affirmation, 2026 will be the year of accountability. And for the Broncos, anything less than competing for the top of the conference again will feel like a regression. The message is clear. The future is promising, but it needs to be earned, snap by snap, starting from the first game of next season.